All right. Who wants to share some good news from the weekend? Don't be bashful. Who wants to share some bad news from the weekend? Anyone rest? Anyone talk to anyone? Anyone get any new opportunities?
Oh, I do. I have I got a new listing. What am I thinking? Of course. A friend of mine, his parents passed away
You've come, Michael.
last year, and that's not the good news. But anyway, his parents' house, they're going to be selling it, and they're going to have me help them sell it. It's a beautiful house. I went over Thursday night and saw it with them, and I hooked him up with a guy that does the estate sales.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a bunch of stuff to get rid of. But our date for going active or live is going to be like the last week of February or the first week of March. That should give us plenty of time to get everything out and get this house sold. And it's in Tucker. It's a beautiful house, very well maintained, and should easily get 450.
Beautiful. All right. See, that's what happens when you just go to work. And, isn't it funny how 6 months ago we would have been like, oh my gosh, I got a listing. I talked to somebody. I did this. I did that. And now I'm like, hey, some news from the weekend. And you're like, oh, I got a listing, whatever.
Well, honestly, I was, that didn't happen over the weekend. So I'm thinking, what did I do this weekend? It was all just, dealing with power outages and ice and stuff. But
okay, I'm going to say something that's probably fairly controversial about what you just said, because you use the word "we" a lot, and I appreciate that, but I do want to let you know that while part of our job is to make that experience as quick and easy and painless and stress-free as possible. However, we are not being compensated to be a GC and an estate sale person and all that, right? Our job is to market, position the home appropriately with respect to condition and price, market it and navigate and be the essentially the supervisor and the protector of the transaction. It is not your responsibility to do 100% of everything that happens prior to them saying the home is ready for market. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes we can get really, really caught up.
Well, that's true.
Go ahead. You say all that one more time, please.
Oh, I said I agree with that, and I wouldn't. It's just that he's a good friend of mine, and I'd be doing this.
Oh, you broke up again.
No, am I? I probably have bad internet today.
You said he's a friend of yours. With all due respect, they're all going to have some kind of unique connection to you. You just don't want to get bogged down with all of that busy work, right? Our job is to go from appointment to appointment to appointment to appointment. You're going to do way more than you're paid for just simply by running the transaction. Your job on the front end is to introduce them to all the people that can help them other than yourself prepare the home for market. And those people should be paid appropriately as well.
Understood.
Yeah, congratulations. We all do plenty of things for people that we're not going to be compensated for. I'm not suggesting we say no forever on that. What I am
suggesting, the story of my life.
Well, oftentimes the thing that goes by the wayside when that's your MO are your priorities.
Yeah. I'm staring at a desk full of that.
Okay, just keep all that in mind. Congratulations. Don't want to take anything away from you, but of the 6,000 things that have to get done from the time you meet the candidate to the time you sell the home, a lot of them are their things, right? They're the ones that got to box things up. They're the ones that got to arrange for the estate sale. You're the one that comes over, takes great pictures, does a thorough market analysis, and then sells the place. All right, beautiful. we got a lot to cover today. So I appreciate everyone being on. Let's jump right in, okay? There's a couple of things that I want to share with you from a kind of an overview perspective on Chartmasters, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty. I'll show you where to find everything. This is being recorded, of course, so if you want to go back and reference it, you certainly can. Okay. Part of our job, actually pretty much the vast majority of our job, is making sure that we are the local economist of choice. Have you guys ever heard that phrase? Gary says it all the time, the local economist of choice. Okay, the only way that you're going to be the local economist of choice is if you know what's going on in the local economy, right? And so part of that is knowing what's happening, you know, kind of in the country in general, right? What's going on with the interest rates, what's going on in the real estate industry in general, you know, things like, you know, the prevalence of things like iBuyers and, you know, companies that are coming in and, you know, like Homeward and Ribbon and these kind of companies that are providing ancillary services, right? The only reason those companies exist is because there was a problem in the real estate industry that somebody was dealing with, right? A seller was having a problem buying before they sell. Okay, poof, there comes a company that can help with that, right? So we got to know what the challenges are in the real estate space, and then we got to understand how we can help solve those problems, in addition to how we can work with other companies that have come into our space to facilitate those services as well. Make sense? Okay, so part of that is also knowing what's going on in the local market. In some respects, if you were to say, you know, how's the market? And you basically say, oh, the interest rates are doing this on a national level. That's like saying it's raining in America, right? That doesn't tell us about what's happening in North Metro Atlanta, right? So we get that data from Chartmasters, from MLS, right? From going in and out of a lot of these properties. I mean, this is a little different market than when I got my feet wet, but when I got my feet wet, these homes are staying on the market for months, right? So I could literally go into a home, take some notes, look around, see how the price, what it was listed at the beginning, see how the price had adjusted as it was on the market. And then what I would do is I would essentially predict, make a guess, an educated guess at where I thought that home would sell. And then I'd go back a month or two later and I'd say, oh, well, hadn't sold yet. And the price had been reduced. And ultimately I was making educated calculations and then going back in and checking my work. So I should ask you, how committed are you to knowing the local market, right? What is going on and where are prices moving? What are the trends, et cetera? So you can do that in a very kind of a micro analysis. That would be something like, you know, what's going on in my particular neighborhood, or if, let's say, I want to sell homes in, I don't know, let's say Roswell High School District. Okay, then everything that pops on the market in Roswell High School District, you know about, right? You know what the condos and townhomes look like, you know how much they are for, how much they're priced for, you know what they look like, how they're changing over time, how fast they're going on and off the market, et cetera. So you can set up a MLS search, for example, that says, you know, every single thing in Roswell High School I want to know about. And then you make a commitment, because you are the Roswell area local economist of choice, to make that a part of your day every single day, right? And then the ones that maybe pop into a neighborhood that you're less familiar with, or maybe something is kind of close to something you might be courting a seller or a buyer on, then maybe you make a commitment to go see that in person. So I would ask yourself, remember, there's, according to Aubrey a week and a half ago in our leadership meeting, he said there are 54,000 agents in Metro Atlanta right now. Does that not just like, that sounds incredible to me. 54,000. Okay, so that means that you're competing theoretically with all of those people. So what separates you from the next guy, right? It's going to be your ability to be the one in front of them when they're ready to make a choice. Remember, because still over 70% of agents only meet with one agent, meaning they hire the first agent they meet with. And secondly, your acumen about the real estate space when you get that opportunity, right? So I would ask you, do you feel like you are kind of meeting the expectations or exceeding the expectations of the people in your local community. Right? There were listing appointments I went on and buyer appointments I went on where literally like I was pretty certain my client knew more about the market than I did. And I didn't like that feeling. Right? I'm the one getting a 5-figure, check. I ought to know more than them. So the question is, are you committed to that education? Can you walk into a home and be like, oh, I've seen all these homes and this one's 375, no problem. I'm already studied. Does that make sense? So first off, I want to make sure that everyone has a commitment to constantly be studying the market. Anyone want to add anything to that? Candace, want to add anything to that? Okay. So
it's crucial. That's all I'd add. It's crucial.
Right. Well, like our old PC coach used to say, it's only crucial if you want to be successful. Right. You only have to work if you really want to like help people and make money, right? You don't have to. No one's forcing you. That's the good news and the bad news of your opportunity here, right? If you want to get good, you're gonna have to be good. If it doesn't matter so much, then it doesn't matter so much. Okay.
And I always say, in addition to knowing the economy around a listing, it's important to know the area around the listing or the neighborhood around the listing as well, before you go on a listing appointment. I mean, it's nice when you find out there's a community garden, or there's, if you look on the website, you can find out some things, and it's important to know that too when you go in. So you don't just know the numbers and the interest rates and what's going on and how many days on the market it takes. You know something about that neighborhood too.
100%. I mean, wouldn't you feel like I literally remember, I feel like I've been a pretty good open book with you guys, but I literally remember walking into homes in communities, and then what would happen is they would make a comment, something like, oh, I want to before we leave the neighborhood, can we see the swim and tennis? Right? Can we just go over and look at the clubhouse, or like drive, in the cul-de-sac and kind of see where it's at? And like, I would pretend like I had to go to the bathroom so that I could like really quickly have a little bit of privacy and like see if I could find on Google what street the clubhouse was down. That's just not a good feeling. You see what I'm saying? It's preparation. Oh man, I just smile thinking about that kind of stuff. Okay. Candace, that ever happened to you before?
Yes, and not only that, but I was notorious for getting lost in neighborhoods.
No.
I had no sense of direction before Waze. So,
and there's 54,000 of you out there, and I found the one that doesn't even know how to get in and out of this neighborhood. Oh my gosh, who am I hiring here? Right. Okay. So we're going to look at 2 sets of data when it comes to Chartmasters. Okay. Now this email was sent out by Raven on, I believe it was last Monday. I have included this in the help chat. Okay. And what this does, this is called the MMO, the Metro Market Overview. Okay. Y'all can all see this, right? Okay. So this is, so Chartmasters really is published once a quarter. We should be getting the, actually, if you hang on one second, they just told us the dates of when Chartmasters, the presentation should be the first couple days of February. If you hang on 2 seconds, I will tell you exactly when it is so you can put it on your calendar. I apologize for all of the delay here. I'm usually working on 3 screens and I'm working on 1 today. By the way, tomorrow from 10 to 12 o'clock is probably the most important class you can take the whole year. From 10 to 12 o'clock, that is Wealth Building with Bob Kalinsky. And there should be some registration links in the newsletter that Mel sent out. Okay, on February the 4th from 10, February the 4th from 10 to 11:30 is it going to be a virtual Chartmasters presentation. Okay. That's going to be for the 4th quarter data. Now, in the meantime, okay, Y'all can see this now, right? Okay, in the meantime, each month we send this report out. Now, this report is called the Metro Market Overview, okay? And what it does is it's basically showing you, and we'll go to the full Chartmasters report here momentarily, okay? I just want to walk you through a couple of really important pieces of data here. Okay, at the end of the day, you really need to understand what is happening on a hyper local level. The hyper local level is generally the neighborhood, or next step would be like a mile, or next step would be the elementary school district, right? And at the end of the day, it's all about putting the seller in the buyer's shoes and the buyer in the seller's shoes. So what I mean by that is, let's use Michael's listing as an example really quickly. So Michael is attempting to set a price with the seller such that any buyer that is remotely interested in anything like the seller's subject property, that is looking in a particular area, a particular type of home, a particular price of home, will know that Michael's listing is available. That's the first question, is it going to be on the list, right, of comparable properties? And that happens generally with price. Okay, now, then the question becomes, how does it compare to all the others? So somebody might say, well, I don't want to give it away. Sir, we're not asking you to give it away. We're just asking you to position it on the right shelf, right? And by the way, if it's not the most attractive, best opportunity in the marketplace, they're going to buy the one who is, right? And they're going to pay fair market price for it, or whatever they happen to be willing to pay, maybe overprice. You see what I'm saying? So what you're trying to do as a seller is position your home so that it's more attractive value-wise than all the other choices, right? So that's really the bottom line. So you need to know what's happening in the hyper-local market. This data is really showing you what's happening, like, let's say 5,000 feet back, right? What are the trends, etc. So what this does is, first of all, this is detached property, okay? All the price ranges here, the number of active properties, number of pending properties, and the pending ratio, the number of homes that have sold, the percentage of homes that are distressed, which are foreclosures and short sales. By the way, that's 0.3%, right? And 2.9 of them, 2.9%, which is way skewing the number, is $100,000 to $150,000. So if somebody says, well, I'm looking for, foreclosures in Roswell High School District, there's probably none, right? And the logic there is because everyone's got equity. If you got equity, you just put the home on the market, even if you're in distress, and sell it for what it's worth and pocket the difference. There's no reason for you, even if you've lost your job or you're having financial stress, just sell the home. There's no reason to give it back to the bank. You see what I'm saying? Just if somebody says, well, I'm looking for foreclosures, you want to ask them additional questions, because generally speaking, they're not even close to paying attention to the marketplace, and you're going to have to do a lot of education there. Okay. So we look at how many months of supply, the median original list price, median sales price to original list price ratio, and the median number of days. Everyone understand the difference between median and average? Is there anyone who does not understand that?
I don't understand, Bill.
Okay, thank you for saying that. Average, if I've got 10 numbers and I want to know the average of those 10 numbers, then I add them all up and divide it by 10, right? And that gives me the average. Median is if you line all 10 numbers in a row, what's the one in the middle? So for example, if let's say your days on the market are 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, right? Then the median is going to be lower. Well, I have to really check that in my head. So the idea is essentially you can make a statistic say whatever you want it to say. That's the bottom line. But the median will show you the most common, it is better at kind of disregarding the extremes. if that makes sense.
Yeah, hey, Bill, I think that one thing that helps is like, especially if you've got houses that are selling for 500, 500, 500, 500, and then one sells for 1.2 million, the average would throw it way off, and all of a sudden the average might be 700, but really the median is really more like 550. So it keeps it from skewing way off just because of a throw off home or one that stays on the market for 6 months when everything else is 6 days.
Yeah, I was getting there, and I appreciate you got there a lot faster than I did in terms of trying to break it down into elements.
I get it. I get it now. It kind of refreshed my memory from school and the things I learned in math.
Yeah.
Does any of those numbers, are any of those numbers more accurate than the other?
See, the phrase accurate is gray as well, right? The fact is that if the median number is accurate because you use a certain way to calculate it, and the average number is accurate, you just use a different method of calculating it. You see what I'm saying? So
they're both accurate. Okay.
They're both accurate for their proper, definition or whatever. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So in general, you can get a real good idea of what's happening in the market based on the price ranges, right? So you can kind of go down a little bit, and this is detached. Okay, here's some more data on that. Number of properties that sold. These are the percentage of homes that were had price reductions. The ones that sold, what's the median number of days on the market? You can see these numbers are creeping up a little bit, right? Number of when a home let's take 350. Yeah, this is a good example. See, 350 to 400. If the property did not need a price reduction, it sold for 101.3% in a median number of days of 8. If it did need a price reduction to sell it, it sold for 94.7% in 60 days. It's quite a difference, isn't it? Okay, so let's just say that's a $400,000 house. That's a 7% difference. That's a almost 30,000% difference in price that the seller received based on whether they got it right at the beginning in terms of price. And by the way, it took an extra 52 days of making their bed, cleaning off their countertops, putting all the trash away, yada, yada. And many of us know how hard that is, right? Especially if they got kids and all this stuff, right? So that's why it's so important to get the price right at the beginning. So for example, if I was going on a listing appointment between 350 and 400, I would probably have these stats ready. Let me share with you the importance of pricing the home correctly, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I know you want to sell for 375, but it looks like all the data says 350 is the best number. I don't want this to happen to you. I want you to sell it for, higher than list price. That's what will happen if you price it accurately and don't need a price reduction. Okay. So you can kind of walk through these slides one at a time, and you're looking about how those statistics have changed over from one period to another period, right? From that point previously. That's North Gwinnett. Here's an example of how they broke it down in Buckhead versus all areas. Brookhaven, Buckhead. Here's some trends. This is really the heart of the conversation right here, which is what's the difference between December of 2020 versus December of 2021, right? Okay, so the active listings are down 18.9%. There's 18.9% fewer listings in December of 2021 than there are December of 2020. Okay, the percentage monthly supply of listings flat. Okay, let's see, median days on the market's lower by 27.8%. It's not that big of a difference, 18 to 13%, but homes appear to be selling a little bit faster and a little bit higher, and the number is higher too. Prices are appreciating, right? And you can look at the difference between detached and the trends. So you can see this is a 6-month trend here, a trailing 6 months. So from July to December, what's the deal with detached residents, right, in the 41 Metro Atlanta County, or now that since they don't do areas, it's 8 counties, right? Here is the breakdown. The number of pendings, or I'm sorry, the number of actives is shrinking. Okay, the number of solds is shrinking. The days on the market is starting to, I mean, it's only a day or two difference, but it's starting to creep up. Y'all see that? So this is what helps you really understand what's going on. Here's a summary statement. From $0 to $2 million, it's a consistent seller's market. Right? Once you get above 2 million, they're saying it's changing towards a buyer's market. Buyer's market is generally above 6 to 7 months of supply. You really don't even see that until you're above $3 million. So if your buyer's like, I want a deal, I would inquire a little bit more about, I understand that you want a deal. I totally understand you. I'd want a deal too. Let me share with you some of the local statistics, because ultimately I want you to be successful and satisfied with the experience. And unfortunately, you're not going to feel like you're winning really at all during this process, because it's a strong, incredibly strong seller's market. So I don't want you to think I'm not trying for you. It's just, this is the reality of the marketplace. Are you willing to participate in a market like this? How would I know, and how would you know if you're getting a deal, right? And when you say deal, does that mean you want a home, let's say that's $400,000 home for $350,000? And if you were a seller, knowing all these statistics, would you be willing to part with your $400,000 home for $350,000? Even if you were in incredible amount of financial stress, right? All you'd have to do is put the home on the market and it would sell, as long as it's priced right, in a couple of days, and you would be relieved of your financial stress. What is the motivation for a seller to offer you $50,000 worth of equity? Help me understand that, please. So let's take a sidebar real quickly on this. Do y'all follow how that conversation should go, or did go, right? When somebody is saying they want a deal, you got to figure out what they actually mean by that. They basically want to take advantage of somebody, or they want to like fool somebody, or they want to like get the best of somebody. Like, what does that even mean, right? You need to understand what that phrase means to them. Because let me tell you something, I love working with people, but if I know of a $400,000 home that's available for $350,000, I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to trade it for you for 3%. Is that insensitive? Okay. So these are questions, if you happen to be working with investors, these are questions you want to get super, super clear on, right? When you say you want a deal and you want me to drive all over town looking for a deal, what does that mean exactly? How will I know it's a deal? How will you know it's a deal? Make sense? Okay. Remember, not every person that appears to be an opportunity is in fact an opportunity. So somebody was about to say something? No? Okay. So then there's some breakdown for attached. You can see attached right here, similar data, okay, similar comparisons, etc. And then here are some summary statements for condos and townhomes as well, attached or condos and townhomes. And you got some trending information there too, okay? What we sometimes will see is that the condo market and the townhome market, primarily the condo market though, and the luxury market are sometimes leading indicators on what's happening in the overall market or the detached market. So you pay attention to this stuff really, really thoroughly. Okay. So here's some remarks on months of supply and what type of market that creates, et cetera. Okay. And that's they separated it condo only, townhome only as well. Okay. Now, the vast majority of people are not going to be interested in going through these slides slide by slide. What's really important is more these trending statements right here, right? Just having a rough idea of what's happening in the marketplace. Okay, don't get too in the weeds with this stuff. But I would print it out every time. I would review it. I would study it. I would say, hey, who needs to see this in my world? Right? Because you're not just the local economist of choice for those that are on your pipeline. Right? You're the local economist of choice for those that are in your database or your world. Right? So what if I printed out this, or let's say I saved this little slide right here, and I did 30 second or 45-second Facebook Live explaining it. Does that perhaps show the world that I'm a local economist of choice? Yes.
I definitely would want to have that behind me, this type of information.
Exactly. Okay, this is proprietary to Keller Williams, by the way, or let me rephrase that. It's proprietary to a company called Chartmasters that is exclusively dealing with Keller Williams, although not even every Keller Williams office buys it. Okay, so as part of your monthly fee, we are getting access to this kind of stuff. Right, remember when you have a challenge, so to speak, I need a tool to explain the market to my people. I can either use my time to do it, which it would take you a ridiculous number of hours to pull this all up, or I can use my money to deal with it, which is getting into business with an organization like KW, who provides this type of stuff for you. Leslie.
So how much would that be for an agent?
You're asking how much you pay for it or how much it would be?
How much will we pay for it?
Oh, to be honest, I'd have to look at the office budget to see what we pay for it. I think we pay somewhere in the neighborhood of, God, I don't want to throw this number out there. I want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like $1,000 a month. And that gives us a license to distribute it to our people.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're paying for it theoretically within your office bill.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any thoughts or questions on that?
I have a question, but it's a little broader. I see that this is only for 8 counties. What if you're doing counties that are outside of this? How would you pull some similar information together?
Okay, so I'm going to show you one thing here in 1 second as we move out to the to the quarterly slides. I'm going to show you, but what he ended up doing is FMLS changed the way they report. There's no areas anymore. Like we used to be in area 13, there's no areas anymore. So what he's done is he has kind of re-systematized this is the areas in which this information is accurate, right? So you're looking at Cobb, Paulding, DeKalb, Fulton, Cherokee, Forsyth, Gwinnett. I believe that's it. Those 8 counties. So again, if you happen to be working outside of this area, let's say you're down in Peachtree City or something like that, then well, number one, you could, if you wanted to, you could reach out to Chuck. Chuck Carr is the one who he owns the company, and say, hey, here's a specific report I'm looking for. Can you pull this for me? And he'll charge you for it, and you can do business with him privately. That would be one option. Or you could perhaps get a couple of agents together to split that type of cost. Or I'm going to show you where to find a little bit more kind of further out information, or you can just do similar research yourself. Okay. All right, so this is an email that came to you on January 11th, 2022 from Raven. And if you search for MMO, you can see, in your email, you can search to see old reports too. Make sense? All right, let's go here. I'm on mykw.kw.com, where I'm about to be. Okay. By the way, family reunion is coming up. Hopefully all of you have put family reunion on your Life by Design. At the very least, you plan to go virtually. It's like $109 or something like that. Normally family reunion, in order to, you know, get a flight, hotel, food, cabs, all that kind of stuff, you're probably a couple $1,000s. How cool is it that we get to go for $100? That should be on every single person's list. Okay. Right here, my market center intranet. Okay. Any questions, thoughts so far? Any ahas? Man, you guys are awful quiet today. You must be busy reporting your numbers.
My outline would be the condo townhouse one. Those numbers would really help me not convince, but to advise my client who's been looking for condos in the Buckhead, Brookhaven area, to let her know there's not a lot, and I'm not just not doing my job of finding you anything. There's nothing to find that fits what you're looking for. So I was very interested in that.
Okay, that's a really good point. I actually was having this conversation with I forget who it was a few days ago. So let's say there's a difference between the home is not available and that will not be available. So for example, if you were to say, I'm looking for a 3-bed, 3.5-bath townhome in Brookhaven, and I want to spend $200,000, right? And you look it up and there's no matches. The question is, this is the question you should be asking yourself. Is it that at this moment, there are no active listings given that set of criteria? Or has there been in the recent past any options? So for example, I can tell you right now, there ain't no townhomes for 200 grand. Okay. However, if I said 500 grand, you'll find something. But if I said 500 grand and you look it up and there's no homes, the next thing you should be doing is saying, well, any expired listings, any pending listings, any sales that have happened in this criteria lately? Because there's a difference between it doesn't exist and it doesn't exist now. Does that make y'all see the nuance there?
Yeah.
Okay, so you really got to understand that, because if somebody were to come to me and say, hey, I want a 5-bedroom home on a finished basement in Milton, and you know, my budget is 300, that hasn't existed since the 80s probably, right? But if they say, well, I'm good with like 900 and I want a pool and yada yada, say, oh well, it's not unheard of that might become available. It's just not available today. There's no matches today. Does that make sense? But in fact, I know where those homes are. They're probably going to be in this neighborhood or this neighborhood or this neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? And by the way, the more you know an area, you'll know kind of what type of housing is available. So for example, if you know, could you name like the starter home communities, if you will? It's weird saying that, but in Johns Creek, right? Do you know the handful of neighborhoods that tend to have the smaller homes that are more close together, that are less expensive, right? And do you know where those people generally sell, right? You have like neighborhoods like Breckenridge and Willow Run, and if you go up towards Windward, like Avonsong, those kind of neighborhoods, those are like generally some of your least expensive single family homes. And then you move up to the next kind of rung, if you will. You see what I'm saying? So do you know those? Because let me tell you something. I know you might be courting a lot of people, but your Johns Creek buyer is only interested in Johns Creek, and they're on Zillow all day. Your job is to know more about their search than they do. Does that make sense? The only way that's going to happen is if you're intentional. Make sense? All right.
Yes, makes sense.
All right, so we're going to go to Market Center. Okay. And we're going to go to Resources. I think it's Resources. I always get confused here. Nope, it's documents. Hang on. So we're going to go to documents. By the way, I don't think I officially shared this with everybody. And I need to do one more calculation to confirm this, but the productivity, and it's a little bit of an unfair comparison, I get this, but the productivity coaching group in the year 2021, we sold 245 homes. Okay. We made a hair under $72 million in volume, which I need to calculate Joanne's, but we are either number one in the office or neck and neck with Joanne. Okay. And our group made just a hair below, like $30,000 below $2 million in gross commission income. So I just want to take a moment to recognize all of your efforts. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I was just having a conversation the other day with Denise Buchanan, our old team leader, and she's running the Midtown office now. And she was bragging on her PC coach. And then I talked to him, and you know how much he did last year? His group, which is bigger, by the way, 41 million. So we almost doubled what they were bragging on. So good job, y'all. Candace, I see all those smiles. You're pretty competitive, aren't you?
I'm going to have to call Denise now.
Yeah, absolutely. Call her. Okay, so you guys see this under Chartmaster. So we're in documents and go to Chartmaster. So you can go look at all the old reports. They're all here. Okay. The monthly market overviews, they're all here as well. Okay. And what I'm going to show you is third quarter 2021. Okay. Who was it that asked that question? Lorinda, if you're looking for selected counties, there's some stuff in here. I've not really spent a whole lot of time in here, but if you're looking at selected counties, it's all in here. Okay, some buyer tools, right? This is the grab and go presentation. I'm actually going to show you that here momentarily. And the Metro detached. So this is where the good stuff is. Okay, now remember it's third quarter data, but we're going to get the fourth quarter data here in a couple of weeks. Okay, on the, what did I say, the 4th. Okay, so these are available in PowerPoint or PDF. Okay, and this is the one I generally will go to. It's the third quarter PDF quarterly report. Okay, I will download and share this document as well. All right, it's 87 pages. High Ds are not going to want to go through this, y'all. All right, and high Is, they don't want to go through it either, even though you think they want to talk all day. They want to talk all day. They don't want to listen to you talking about an 87-page report. You see what I'm saying? So this is a free resource for you guys to really fully understand what's going on in the market. You see what I'm saying? And you should be printing this out and reading it word for word for word. Has anyone done that, by the way? Has anyone done that?
No.
What if I was your prospect and I said, hey, can you tell me a little bit about what your company provides you from a resource perspective in terms so you can really understand the market properly? And you're like, oh, we get this thing called Chartmasters. And say, oh, can you show it to me? Well, I don't really know how to find it or like where it is or how to explain it. You see what I'm saying? If you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby, y'all. Okay, so it really goes into a lot of detail here. Here we go. Douglas, Paul, I forgot Douglas before. Douglas, Paulding, Fulton, DeKalb, Gwinnett, Forsyth, Cherokee. Okay, those are the counties that we're working with here. Market share, right? 19.9% of sales involve a Keller Williams agent. We are better than the next 4 companies combined. All right. Here's some what Andy and Leslie will call party chatter. Okay. Median sales price and how it's adjusted over time, median days in the market, how it's adjusted over time. Okay. Changes, here's some quarterly sales changes, lower in third quarter than previous year, sharp pandemic rebound, right? You can see the number of properties that sold post-pandemic was all up compared to the previous quarter, except for the third quarter, right? So you can understand things like this. Monthly sales with some big time statistics below. You know, here's a slide that you might want to print out in case somebody says, well, let's try it high, and then after a few weeks, we'll lower it to the right price. No. Would you like this to happen to you? Right? All the activity is at the very beginning. Okay. I understand why you might think that, sir, but can I share with you a concern that I have? Right? That is a consultative question. No, you're wrong. That's not a good idea. That's antagonistic, and they're not going to want to do business with you. You follow how that's different? I can appreciate your desire to get top dollar. That's why I'm here for you, sir. I've got a couple of concerns. Do you mind if I share them with you? Make sense? This looks at the data from the peak of the buyer's market, which is in January of 2009 to today. Instead of having 31,000 homes on the market, there's 5,200. There used to be back then, Candace, you probably remember this, supply 16.1 months. Now we're 1 month, right? Almost half, 40% of the homes were distressed. Now it's not even 0.5%. You'll see how the market is significantly different. If you were to pull out this slide, does that seem impressive? I would think so. So every quarter, I'd probably print out a handful of these slides that are most impactful and be prepared to bring them up at your meetings if necessary, right? So there's a couple that I'll point out to you. This is one of them right here. Okay. Here's what happens if you need a price reduction versus if you do not need a price reduction. If you're selling a 500, let's do a little less, 300 to 499. If we need a price reduction, we're going to sell for 94.5% of listing price, original listing price. If we don't, 102.3%. Does that tell us that you can't undersell a home? If every piece of data in the universe suggested the home should sell for $305,000, would you price the home at 300 or 305? Who wants to answer? I would price the home at 300, right? Because it'll get a lot of offers, and whoever's willing to pay the most for it in the entire universe will pay over 305 most likely, right? And if by chance there's not anyone that shows up that's willing to pay 305, well, that's just the facts. It ain't worth 305, right? Something is weird about this property or the condition of it that caused the world not to show up, right? And it gives some kind of summary notes down here. Okay, so these are slides that are really good for sellers. Price reduction effect with respect to days on the market. Would you rather have your home on the market for 37 days or 7 days based on your price range? So I'd definitely print that one out. This slide I think is a little confusing. I prefer this one. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I prefer it's down here eventually. Here we go. For every finalized 100 listings, this is a slide I always go to first. 14 of them did not sell at all. They just flat out failed to sell. Okay. When a home fails to sell, it's because of the price, 100% of the time. Okay. Because even if the pictures, the condition is lousy, it could be a great buy if the price is right, right? So it's always the price. It's always the price. Okay, so 86 of those properties did sell. 14 of them needed a price reduction to sell. And when they did, it took 42 days and 93.7% of sticker price. The 72 that did not need a price reduction, 101.8% in 7 days in the market. So, Mr. Buyer, if the home has been on the market for an hour, you're not getting a deal. Are you clear on that? Okay. If you're using the PowerPoint, you can specify certain price ranges in certain areas. Here's a little spreadsheet where it says, let's say I'm in front of a seller and they want to price it at 540, and I believe the right price is 500. Okay. Using the stats that we just saw, if they're wrong and we ultimately need a price reduction to sell, they're going to sell at 92.1%. That's 497 in 97 days on the market. If instead they let us price it at 500, we'll sell it for 101.1% of original list price, which is 5055 in 7 days. So not only do we have, even though there's a $40,000 price difference, I'm actually going to sell the home for $8,100 more in 90 fewer days, which is 3 months. So the likely benefit to pricing it correctly with all of the cost of carry and mortgage and holding costs and taxes and all that kind of stuff, it's over $14,000. Now do that calculation before you show up at the house, right? Here's another slide that I think is really impactful, particularly for buyers. Okay, sales with listing price above 100%. So if the price is above 100%, what do you think happened?
The buyer ended up paying more for the property.
Say that one more time.
So the buyer ended up paying more for the property?
Well, we know that they paid more than the list price. They paid at list price or above list price. So what that generally would indicate to me is they wouldn't have done that unless they were forced to, more or less, right? Meaning there were most likely multiple offers. Okay, so if you're dealing, let's say, in the 300 to 500,000, 71.2% of the time, okay, buyers had to pay list price or more. If I'm sitting down with a buyer for the first time, even if they're your friend, sometimes the friend needs to hear the facts even more than the non-friend, right? I want to share with you something, Tracy. 71.2% of the time that you find a home and you want to move forward with it, you are going to have to pay list price or above list price for it. Now, I'm not telling you that we aren't going to go into this fully educated and protected. I'm just saying, if you don't get anything off of the list price, how are you going to feel about that? Because I'm setting them up for that experience, right? Do you think people react better when they know it's coming or when they don't know it's coming? Right? If I was doing a trust walk or something with you, Michael, and it was dark outside and you were blindfolded and I was just kind of jerking you around, hey, duck here, move here, step really strong over this way. You're like, I'm not having fun. I don't feel secure. I don't feel safe, right? But if I said, hey, there's a little branch on your left, duck a little bit. Hey, in 4 steps, we're going to take a little, big steps. So you step over a little puddle there, right? You feel a lot more secure. If you
And I think,
go ahead.
yeah, and I think setting expectations is a big part of what we do for our clients, and setting realistic expectations. But I also think you can frame it in such a way that it doesn't take away from the exciting journey. I think we have to say things like, there's a good chance that you'll be in competition with other people who want this home, and there's a good chance that that's going to require that you decide how badly you want the home and how much it's worth it to you. And also what I'd like to say is there are plenty of people who bought homes over ask price last year who have gained equity in the past 12 months. So that could happen for you. It's not guaranteed, but it could happen for you that in a year's time, you've realized more equity in your home. I mean, in some cases for people with $400,000 homes, they gained $80,000 worth of equity in a year, which is just crazy.
Yep. Well, one thing I would say is that just because you pay more than list price for the home, that actually does not mean by definition you're overpaying. You're paying above
Exactly.
market value. You are the one creating the market, right? So if it's listed for 500 and you end up having to pay 515 for it because of competition and because of a lack of other choices or because something unique in that particular situation where you had to buy that home, well, you just made the market. So now the market's 515. You see what I'm saying? And I always thought this was funny. It's like, well, I don't want to make, when the market was kind of the opposite, if somebody came into a 175 neighborhood and got it for like 165, well, now 165 is the market. So it's not necessarily that you got this great deal. You're the most recent comp, right? If somebody just paid 165, the next guy is not gonna know what to do. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, you want to make sure they're having fun, but you want to make sure that they know what to expect. Because if you show them if you've not had this type of conversation with them, and you show them a home, and they say, okay, let's write it up, and you say, okay, well, what do you want to offer? And they're like, oh, well, it's listed for 400. Why don't we start at 360? And you're like, whoa, am I in 2009 or what the hell is going on here, right? I don't want to have that conversation then when they love the home and they're all emotional. I want to have it beforehand so that they get prepped properly. And then the common response would be, do you think we have to go over? Say, hang on, let me go call the listing agent, see if they got any other offers, right? Y'all follow all that? Okay.
Somewhat, yeah.
So here's some summary statements about what's going on in the marketplace. Now, this allows you basically, we'll go through all of this here, but this allows you to, hang on, let me put this in the WhatsApp. This allows you to be more sophisticated than just saying, oh, the market's good, right? If I asked, let's say I was courting one of you guys as an agent, and I said, hey, Michael, tell me about the market. What's going on now? I'm from a different part of the country. Tell me about the market. What is the market like there in Woodstock or whatever? And you're like, oh, the average days in the market is 7, and if you overprice the home and have to have a price reduction, it's more like 45. Say, nice, okay. But if you say, oh, it's good, it's strong, right? That doesn't tell me anything. And therefore, I don't know what to think about the market. And the one person that I think is best suited to help me has essentially just answered that they either don't know or don't remember or don't care to know. Does that make sense? So have a statistic that you're prepared to share with them at all times. Right? Another way, I should have shown you this a second ago, but this will be the last thing we do. I want to make sure I leave you plenty of time to do your lead generation. But if you go to, oh, hang on, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, am I? One sec. Share screen. Does everyone remember what time the class is tomorrow? 10 to 12?
10 to 12, yes, sir.
The class that you are not going to miss under any circumstances.
Hey, I registered for that, but I don't think I got any email about it confirming my. So should I check with somebody about that?
Yeah. Well, wait until a little bit later this afternoon. It might. I don't know what's going on, but if you don't have it, I'll share it eventually tomorrow, but I'll go back and see because I've registered. I thought I had a link, but get your calendar prepared for it. We'll get you the link soon if you don't already have it. Okay. So I am on or I'm about to be on the, what do you call it? The intro page of FMLS. Okay. And they have this little widget here called Market Watch. You guys ever seen this? By the way, if you're looking for an open house, you can say my office active listings. There's 61 active listings that our office has right now. And you should say to yourself, hey, I wonder if I can find one that's in my rough market area that I can call up the listing agent and say, oh my gosh, Carrie Veal, congratulations on your new listing in Woodstock. Right? Is there anything that I can do to help you? I would like to do an open house. Which day is better, Saturday or Sunday? By the way, my name's Tracy Trent. I have 17 open house signs. And on my calendar, there is an opening where I can knock the neighborhood on Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Would that be okay? Oh my gosh, Tracy, it sounds like you're super prepared. I think I like doing business with people that are super prepared. Because I just got somebody that called me the other day on a Saturday. Said, hey, I got nothing better to do tomorrow. I don't have any signs. Can I borrow those? I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I'm just asking you guys to get prepared. Okay. New listings. There's a 24-hour time period. Let's not do that. Let's do 7 days since we had a holiday weekend. Okay. So in the last 7 days, okay, there's been 1,482 new listings. Okay. 693 homes have gone under contract. Oh, well, December's not a good time to sell. I'll wait until the spring. Oh my gosh. Would you believe it? Over the last 7 days, there's been almost 700 homes that have actually gone under contract. Right? Yeah, there might be fewer homes going under contract, but there's also fewer buyers out there. So in some ways, it actually doesn't make that big of a difference, right? In the springtime, when you think it's a great time to sell, so does everyone else. Those are all your competition. Would you rather try now or have more competition then, right? So if you can set up customized searches here. So if you wanted to look at, a particular zip code or school district or something like that, you can see exactly what's going on, right? So if, for example, you did want to do the 24 hours and you said, let's customize it for 2 seconds. If you guys need to split, I totally get it. I'm almost done. Has this been helpful so far?
It's been very helpful.
Yes, I needed to. I'm going to go back and watch it.
Okay, so I'm looking in Roswell High School District. Okay, and I'm looking for homes, let's say, that are actually let's just keep it in Roswell. Detached and attached, and I'm going to save. FMLS offers free classes, by the way. So if you're not familiar with how to do this stuff, there's free classes. Okay, now you can see not much has happened in the last 24 hours, as you would expect, right? Because of the holiday. But in the last 7 days, there's been 6 new listings in Roswell High School District. 6 have gone under price decreases. 1's back on the market. 7 have closed. So you want to be the local economist of choice for Roswell High School District? You should check every new listing every single day. What if your buyer calls you and says, oh my gosh, I think the home on Village Lane is the one for me? Oh, I haven't gotten a chance to, I just woke up. I haven't gotten a chance to look that up. Right? So you can go in here and say, oh my gosh, Orchards of Roswell. I wonder what's going on. Oh, that's right around the corner from the one I saw last week. Right? How committed to your business are you? What have you learned today?
Still a lot to learn today.
That's what I was gonna say. Lots more to learn.
Yep. What else?
For me, Bill,
Go ahead, Rachel.
I showed up because I have a client that is a numbers client, whereas I'm a gut agent. I know everything in my gut from years. And I realized, I can tell her and she'll go back and she'll say, you're right, Rachel, because I looked up the numbers and it, verified what you said. So to connect with her and to solidify her trust 100%, I need to then shore it up with numbers for her.
So I would say, I love working with people just like you.
Mhm.
So I understand how important the numbers are to you, and I suspect that it's connected to your kind of evaluation of this process. And I want to provide you with all of the numbers and analytics you want. What numbers are you looking for?
Okay.
What chart?
I was just gonna shoot it over and just say, let me give you an update, because she, she was the CFO for Turner, so that's what she does.
So you could say, well, I have an 87-page report. Would you like to see all of it? Or do you have some specific analysis that you'd like me to pull for you?
Okay.
Right. So, and then like the high eyes, for example, they, just because they like to talk and they're really animated and they don't appear to be kind of number conscious, or they don't make their decisions with that kind of leading, they want to know that you are like that. So you can show up with the binder and say, okay, here's the 87-page report. And I just don't like, I'll go through it page by page if you want, but I've already studied it. And I pulled out the 2 slides you got to see. If you do this, this is what happens. If you do that, this is what happens. What do you, right?
Right.
But they want to know you have it. They want to know you've reviewed it. They just don't want you to pull it out. Right. And then it goes back to, I don't have it handy at the moment, but you remember the closing phrases per personality style that we looked at a couple of weeks ago with the DISC class?
I didn't take that class.
Okay, I'm gonna find it and I'll post it. But it's basically, as you are trying to close someone for the agreement, right? What do you need to say to each of the personality profiles? Candace, are you looking it up? Yep. All right. Well, if you get to it first, post it. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's just that one page. They want to hear the information differently, and they make decisions based on the rapport they have, based on how well you have asked questions and how well you are delivering the information in a way that makes sense to them. Right. So whenever somebody says, I'm a numbers person, or they're proving themselves to be a numbers person, just go ahead and ask them, hey, the statistics appear to be really important to you. Is there something that you're looking for that I might be able to help present to you? Also, I know you want the information. You just don't, I'm going to save you time. Let me do the research and I'll share it with you. Right. By the way, I've got 15 years of this data. Want that too? You see what I'm saying? Sometimes they'll be like, oh my gosh, I love you. And they'll go tell all their numbers friends that you have all the data. You see what I'm saying? So whenever somebody says, or Rachel, for that example, the idea is, what information do I need to get them? What do they actually want specifically? And ask them, because they want that question. So that it seems like the research and the analytics are really important to you. I totally understand that. I make decisions a very similar way. I analyze a lot of this data all the time, and good for us, my brokerage provides a lot of these reports. Is there anything specifically that you're looking for that I can deliver to you?
Okay. Bill, do you want to share? Let me share screen and I'll show these closings.
Hang on one sec. All right, you're up.
There we go. Okay, can everybody see that?
It's getting there. Oh, yeah, that's exactly the one I'm looking for. So for a high D, it sounds like I've answered all of your questions. You appear to be someone who knows what they want and wants to get the job done. Put me to work for you, and we can get the process started today. I just need your signature in a few places, hand in the pen. Right? That's somebody who doesn't want to waste time, get straight to the point, etc. High I. Hey, I love what I do, and it's important my clients feel like I have listened to what they want and are confident that I'm the right person to do the job. Are you ready to put me to work so we can have some fun and enjoy the process of getting your home sold? Right? Like a high D doesn't necessarily want to have a lot of fun. They just want the job done and do it fast. But a high I wants to be heard, right? They want to feel good. It's an emotional decision, right? Okay, high S. It's important to me that you feel comfortable with everything we've discussed, right? This is a very slow, calculating, doesn't like a lot of change, etc. Right? It's important to me that you feel comfortable with everything we've discussed. I will be here for you every step of the way. And if I've answered all of your questions, when do you feel like you'd be ready to put me to work for you? Right? It's a script, but it's gentle and slow. And if it's okay with you, if I've answered all of your questions, you follow that approach? Right, a high C, Rachel, this is your guy. Now that you have all the information you need to make the right choice, I will leave the listing paperwork with you to look over more thoroughly if you'd like. And once you do that, if everything looks good, will you be ready to put me to work for you? Right, they're like, wait, it's an 87-page brochure, but you only showed me 4 pages. What did the other 83 say? Well, I'm going home to have dinner with my family. I'm gonna leave that with you. I'll call you tomorrow. Follow? Y'all see how
Got
this
it.
business is literally like this much about real estate and this much about everything else? All right, give me one aha and then we're gonna go. What is the thing that you learned today that you are going to be putting into your business today?
I'm going to learn how to use the statistics to explain to my clients why a certain situation is the way it is. That's my one from all of this data.
Love that. Okay, so what we have established is most likely if you do not have a consistent habit of evaluating the market, then you now have a new time obligation. So you should be asking yourself, when am I going to do this? Right? Do I study the market once a day, once a week, once a month? Right? When does it happen? And if it's not on your calendar, it's probably not going to happen. Make sense?
Yes.
Gosh, Candace, you're the only person that has more windows open than I do. My goodness. Look how hard she's working for you guys.
I think I have her beat.
All right, you guys, have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Candace.
Thank you.